Alright, getting ready to change the spark plugs in my 2020 Ford Ranger. You can see that I'm close to 41,000 miles. I know that Ford doesn't recommend changing the spark plugs until you get to 100,000, but I want to go ahead and do it. One, just to show you guys how to do it, and two, I'm kind of curious to see how they look after 41,000 miles. So let's go take a look. Alright, so we're under the hood. And you can see here's my 4 spark plugs here. They're underneath these coils. So I'm going to have to remove this small nut on each of them first. Not sure what size it is yet. It looks about 8 millimeters. So we're going to have to release those. The only catch is Ford decided to use 3 of them for wire routing. So I'm going to have to take this little plastic doohickey off. The first one, the third one, and then there's some kind of like post style one on that one. So hopefully those pry off with a screwdriver easily. We're about to find out. So I decided to go ahead and use some needle nose pliers, and you can kind of get underneath them and wiggle them and pop them right up. Just kind of move them out of the way. So we'll go ahead and do that to the other 2 and go from there. All right, I guessed correctly on the 8 millimeter size. So here we go. Okay, I don't know if that's supposed to happen or not. I was just trying to take the nut off the top. Let's see if this thing can focus. I was just trying to take the nut off the top, but the entire thing came out. So I'll see what happens with the other 3, but I don't think that whole thing was supposed to come out. Anyway, I think it'll work fine either way. Alright, this next part is a 2-part process. You're going to want to pull this boot up out of there, but it's a long boot, and you don't have enough slack in the actual connector here to pull it out. So you want to disconnect that first. So you'll snap this white plastic part back first, and then you'll pinch and pull, and that will pull that connector out of there. And then you'll simply pull the boot. You might have to wiggle it a little bit, pull it up out of there, and that's what it looks like. So that looks good. And then our spark plug will be down in that hole. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's down there. Maybe I'll get a light and shine it in there just so you can see down in there. Alright, I'm using my cell phone flashlight, and you can see the spark plug down in there. Sorry it's a little bit out of focus, but there's the spark plug, so we'll get that next. Alright, so we're going to use a standard 5/8 spark plug socket. It comes in most ratchet kits. If you don't have one in yours, of course you'll need a deep drive, deep socket set, and you're going to use 5/8. You can get by with a 6-inch extension to get down in that hole. I only have a 12 here, so we're going to go ahead and use that. We're going to slide that in there, and you can kind of like feel it click into place over it if you're using the proper spark plug one, because there's like a little boot inside the socket. You probably won't feel that if you're using just a standard deep socket, but let's see if we can crack this thing loose. All right, I'm going to need 2 hands. Hang on. All right, I've got it out. It came out relatively easily. You can see there's quite a bit of discoloring on it. The threads look like there's a lot of heat damage on there. There's even some heat damage on the porcelain itself. It almost looks rusty in color. And then quite a bit of carbon on the actual threads, and then in the actual spark plug as well. Quite a bit of carbon, some discoloration, rusty color. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but right where that J is, there's just one tiny little clean spot where the electrode meets that J hook to make the spark. There's one tiny little white circle where the spark is made that's clean, but everything else is pretty gunked up. So here's the new one. It's the exact same one. We're using the genuine Ford Motorcraft. I got these 4 on Amazon for $28 for the box of 4. But here's the brand new one for comparison. Brand new clean one. And you can see the model number on there. I'll read it off of the box. It's CYFS12YPT. Yeah, there's the model number. But that's the one you're going to want. So it's a direct replacement. I'm not upgrading or anything, just direct replacement. So that's the old versus the new. I'm going to show you all 4 of them after I get all 4 of them pulled out. right, we're getting ready to put the new one back in this first cylinder. You can see inside the socket, there's a little rubber boot in there that helps not only hold the plug in there when you're sticking it back down in the hole, but also protects the porcelain cap. What's nice about that is when you stick it in there, it holds it in tight so that it doesn't drop out. Okay. I know that I'm going to get some comments on this. Technically, you should put some anti-seize compound on there. I don't plan on going years and years without changing these again. And I don't have any anti-seize compound on me right now. I may regret that later, so if you have some, or if you're going to do this, I highly recommend doing some anti-seize compound on the threads. But I'm going to go ahead and do it without it. I know I'm probably going to get some negative feedback from that, but I'm just trying to show you guys how to do it, and I am recommending that you use it on yours when you do it. So we're going to go ahead and put this down in that hole very carefully, and we're going to hand thread it as many turns as possible without using the ratchet. The reason for that is we want to make sure it's not cross-threading. If you cross-thread this and damage those threads, you're going to be losing compression, your plug's not going to seat properly, so you're going to have a gapping issue, you're going to have a lot of problems. So hand thread that sucker as much as you can before you go to the ratchet. You should be able to get it all the way in there. There's quite a few threads, but you should be able to get it all the way in there before you go to the ratchet. And the ratchet should really only be used for torquing at that final little bit. So screw it all the way in by hand. Okay, that's as much as I can go by hand. So now I'm going to go about a half a turn with the ratchet. It's not that tight. If you have a torque wrench, use your torque wrench here. Look up the torque specs and use it. I'm just an old shade tree mechanic, so I go by feel. I'm going to give it about a quarter turn, or you know, good and snug, but not really tight with the ratchet. And then I'll go do the other three, and I'll show you the final result of the other three dirty ones when I'm done. Quick update on the second one. The entire assembly came out again when I went to loosen that nut as well. So I'm sensing a theme here. It looks like all of them are going to come out. The first one went back in just fine, so I don't anticipate any issues with that, but a little unexpected, but it's going to work just fine. So just if your whole thing comes out instead of just the nut, you'll be okay. Hey, I wanted to show you this back one. It's a really tight fit there because of this hose. Not even sure what that's going to, but if you kind of rotate it back towards the front of the truck, you can just sneak it out the side, that boot there. So yeah, it's a tight fit, but you can get it out of there. All right, we're all set. All four of them are changed out. Here they are. I'd say all four are equally as dirty. I don't see any that are worse than the others, but they're pretty bad, so I'm glad I changed them out. Hope this helped you guys. We're gonna go ahead and start it up now, and I want you to hear it fire up the first time, so we'll do that together.